Good morning and welcome, everyone. Time to get started with group meeting. Group today, Tuesday, July 2nd already. My goodness, a couple days before Independence Day. Hope everybody has some fun and exciting plans there. In order to get you prepared for your 4th of July, where I know you'll be staying up past what your adrenal glands like you to do. We're going to talk about a little bit more about sleep. We did talk about this in group session, and then we had a lot of comments on sleep in the group forums. And so I'm going to address some of those, and we're just going to continue our conversation on sleep. Sleep is such a hot topic. It is definitely one of those symptoms. And it's interesting that I call poor sleep a symptom because sleep is a function. Without having to try, your body will just naturally go to sleep. That's just what it does. That's what it's innately designed to do, so that a third of your life is actually spent sleeping. So if you're experiencing things like poor sleep, or you're experiencing things like insomnia, where you just stop the natural pattern of sleep, that is not normal to the body. And so sleep is an innate function. It is not something that you have to force the body to do. So again, the goal isn't to force sleep. The goal is to produce natural innate functionability. If it's not naturally happening, then we have to look at function. We have to look at all the things that could be preventing this natural, normal thing that we shouldn't have to work so hard to do. We should see what's stopping it so that we can let that normal function happen. We talked last time about joy in your life, enjoying your life being a huge part of why you're not sleeping. And oftentimes it's because at nighttime, you finally have all of the distractions from the day stopping coming flying at you. And now your brain is in a capacity where it's not getting interrupted. And so now it thinks it's a great time to solve problems. And so this is why you're starting to think. How can I think out my situation? How I can think my way out of this? And that's a poor use of sleep. That's a poor use of your nighttime hours. Those questions are better done written down at the end of the day when you're feeling frustrated about things. Obviously, it means that you have found some things that you don't like in your life. Write them down and then do your bedtime routine. Let's also talk about routine. I'll add that to our list. Write them down at the end of the day. When you wake up in the morning, you're in a theta state before you get up and you're out of bed and you're already doing things for the day. Right when you wake up, you're in a good theta state. That is the perfect time to get yourself into a meditation position, a meditation posture, and sit up, because you're going to go right back to sleep. So sit up on your bed if you want to, or move, down to the floor. And that's a good time to recall just using that theta state. Get into a place where you can now start solving the problem. Now start thinking about the things that you're not enjoying in your life. You recognize that I don't feel comfortable with this. I recognize I don't like this in my life. Now is a great time to sit almost in a meditation and just let your brain think out the problem at that time, while you're waking up and you're in a nice place where your subconscious is speaking to your conscious brain. So we talked a lot about joy and how disliking the things in your life can be a big reason why you're not sleeping. So you stay up and then you ruminate trying to solve the problem. Like I said, write down all of the things, get that out of your brain, then do your bedtime routine. In the morning when you wake up and you're in a theta state, then take those things and allow your brain to think on them. I'm going to give you a little bit of anatomy for how sleep works. Sleep is very much dictated by the nervous system, like everything else in the body. We talk about Sam and Patty all the time, and there's reason for this. If you have chronic unresolved issues, including sleep issues, chronic unresolved issues means you are spending more time in the SAM state. You are spending more time in sympathetic dominance than you are in parasympathetic dominance. And anatomy is set up for you to spend more of your time in parasympathetic dominance. You are to spend more time with Patty. Just anatomically, that is how your body is designed. When you are in a state of sympathetic dominance more frequently, you're in a state of sympathetic dominance, and then you get to sympathetic fatigue, sympathetic exhaustion, and then sympathetic depletion. And when you get to sympathetic depletion, that's where any little trigger, whatever it is that's kind of prime for your body, the little triggers, toxins that you're exposed to, nutrition that's poor, calorie intake that's poor, all of a sudden that's where it'll take and spur in the cells. And that's where disease generation starts happening, is in the state of sympathetic depletion. You have to get depleted. So the little bit of anatomy that I want to share with that, if you look at the two sides of your nervous system, so you've got your sympathetic and you've got your parasympathetic, otherwise known as Sam and Patty, your two friends. Anatomically, you have these little nerve cells on both sides, and they are wrapped in insulation. It's called myelin sheath, in case you want to know, but it's essentially insulation. And any electrician can tell you that the more insulation that you have, the less chance for burnout. If you have a little bit of insulation, they can overheat, and then that insulation burns. It's a quicker degradation. Sympathetic dominant nerves have a very thin myelin sheath. They have a very thin level of insulation. Parasympathetic nerves, however, have a very thick, cushy, nicely insulated nerves. They are designed to go the long haul. They are designed to run all day long. They've got so much insulation on them that they can run their electrical power all day, all day, all day, all day, and they're not going to burn out. We're not going to get parasympathetic exhaustion. You have enough insulation on the parasympathetic nerves. The sympathetic nerves, however, thin insulation. They are not meant to run all day, all day, all day. They need thin insulation so that you can respond very quickly. The message has to get through that insulation very, very quickly. However, if you're running the electricity through that nerve all the time, all the time, all the time, you're going to burn out. That insulation is going to burn out quite quickly. And now you have sympathetic depletion. This is where the acceleration to degeneration and disease is very prominent. That's where that happens. So you're actually designed to spend about 90 to 95% of your life in parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is the only place where regeneration can happen. And in our country, a lot of times, the only place that people can get into the parasympathetic state is when they're sleeping, largely because they're just shutting off their brain. They're not even doing anything specific. It's because they are just stopping the damage that they're doing with all the overthinking and all the rumination. And so if you are not getting good sleep, please do not stress about it, because you are doing more of this. You are pounding that same state. You are keeping yourself in a sympathetic dominant state. The goal is do all the things that cause health, that help you have a good state of sleep. If you're not having good sleep, it's something to note. Oh, let's see how my bowel function is doing. Oh, we're doing well. Let's see how my sleep is doing. Well, I could make some improvement there. Let's see how my nutrition is doing. I could make some improvement there. Think of it more as a report card and a check-in on yourself, not a panic about all the things that you're not doing well. And, oh, I know I need sleep, or I'm going to get disease and it really stresses me out. Please don't do that, because you are keeping yourself headed towards that adrenal burnout. Instead, look to the things that keep you in the parasympathetic state. So much of your sleep state, so much of your parasympathetic regeneration need does happen in your sleep, but you can do it all day long, and then you won't have to stress so much about whether you're getting enough sleep or not. If you're not getting enough sleep, get really good at being in the parasympathetic state during the daytime then. So, little quiz for you. If you are watching TV, which state are you in? If you are on your phone, which state are you in? Sam, sympathetic. If you are at work and there's a stressful situation, obviously you are in this state. Can you be at work and be in the Patty state? Yes, you can. HRV training, when you are in your program and you're doing the little heart math device, you are working on HRV training. And one of the goals on the HRV training as you accelerate through it is to be in the world and have people talking at you and have stressful things happening. And the training is such that you can stay in the green, even when these things are going on. So yes, with training, you can be at work and still be in a parasympathetic state. If you are listening to music, if you are singing, dancing, laughing, if you are just spiraling, and you're so tired and you know you're stressed and you're overburdened, watch a comedian. Dry bar comedy has comedy that is not, it doesn't use negative connotations, it doesn't use swearing, it doesn't degrade people. The idea of dry bar comedy really is to just help people get into that parasympathetic state. So if you are having trouble sleeping, get really good being parasympathetic all day long. For example, you can be driving. Notice what your muscles are doing. If you notice that they're tense and your shoulders are up, drop them. Be aware in every moment of your day. Ask yourself, as I'm sitting here right now in this room, I can say, is there a tiger? No, there's not a tiger. That means I can sit with Patty. Patty, come hang out with me. And you can you can actually say the words, Patty, come hang out with me. That's the reminder that your friend Patty, the parasympathetic state, can come and hang out with you. The state that you should be living in, that should be like hanging with your chill friend Patty. One of the things you can do is, am I talking quickly? Slow down your speech. You are more apt to get into a parasympathetic state. Listen to classical music behind the background while you're working. You are more likely to get into a parasympathetic state. There is a reason why all of those college studies had found that people test better when they are listening to classical music. They retain knowledge better when they're listening to classical music. And the reason is because they're not running from a tiger, they're in the parasympathetic state. Remember, if you're running from a tiger, you don't need to know facts. Your brain that registers facts to your conscious brain is not connected. It's not caring if you remember details. So all the brain fog and memory fatigue that you are experiencing, that you're talking about in your sessions and in your group forms, so much of that is related to sympathetic. Honestly, all of the physical concerns that you have, I would first say, get really good at balancing these two sides of your nervous system. How they should function is you should be here. When a stress comes up and you have to run to get out of the way of the car that's coming your direction, Sam pops in, she goes away, Patty steps back in and carries it off. But what we tend to do is we trauma and drama everything that we do. And I'm not discounting the traumas and dramas that we go to. I'm just saying when that car came and you were able to run away from it and you got out of it, and then you should switch into parasympathetic state. What we do is we keep this alive by telling everybody now about how I almost got hit by a car, I almost got hit by a car, I almost got hit by a car, and retelling the story 20 times a day until what you're doing is you're not only staying in the same state, but you're increasing it. And now that trauma is solidifying as a memory in the brain. Instead, you ran from a car, but yay, you lived. It's a big difference if we would focus on, we did not die in that incident. If we would tell the story like, wow, I'm so grateful that I had a system in my body that could get me out of that state. And now, whew, I was able to go back to this relaxed state. I'm so excited that I get to be able to be in this relaxed state now. This is so cool that my body knew to do that and then go back to its natural state. What a crazy thing that happened today. So how we tell our stories definitely has to change also if we want to spend more time in that parasympathetic state. How you deal with traumas in a way that does not completely keep this beating over here, that is a topic for another time, because our traumas are something that has to be handled in a gentle way and in a trained way so that our nervous system can be better working in our favor. Now, there are things that you can do. So all day long, you can work on your sleep. So sleep doesn't just happen at night. Sleep is already preparing from the second that you wake up, because your brain chemistry has already turned on the chemicals to wake you up. That has begun the cycle for the next day and into the evening. So how you wake up and the foods that you use right away is going to dictate what your sleep ends up looking like that night as well. Your blood sugar and your cortisol levels are established right away when you wake up. So I know I've talked to many of you that one of your strategies is to eat something within a half an hour of waking, because your cortisol levels, your ability to metabolize your blood sugar is established right at the beginning of the day, and that's what carries out through the rest of the day then. But if you don't eat, or the first thing you have is coffee, you're shooting your cortisol levels really high, and now the food that you're getting in doesn't ever get as high as cortisol got you. And so there's this struggle of always, it increases your ghrelin, which is a hormone that tells you you're hungry. So it increases ghrelin levels. And now you think you're hungry all the time because it doesn't quite get to the level that cortisol made you feel. And so you're going to constantly chase that all day long. And so that's going to establish what hormone levels, what stress hormones you're operating on all day long. And then, of course, you're going to have a hard time sleeping. When you activate stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine, they are with you now for 4 to 5 hours. So starting that in the morning is really imperative. Having stressful incidences that you know well how to regulate yourself from. So the NUCOG experience, when you get to be, what is that, B10? You get to B10 and you're learning the NUCOG experience, there is a rhyme and reason for that. So when you have a stressful incident, you can NUCOG on that topic so that you're learning how to downregulate the emotions and process the situation so that you can come back down from that and it does not get stored as trauma and drama. And then your stress hormones from dealing with it can decrease within 4 to 5 hours. This is also the reason why it is not a good idea to watch TV, especially watch the news or anything that is scary or stress provoking before bed, because now you're going to bed with those images, you've elevated your stress hormones, and now 4 to 5 hours into it is when you're actually able to relax and start sleeping. I know you've heard that a lot. Don't be on your phones before bed. There's so many reasons to that. The stress hormones that it produces, the image that go in your head, the EMFs that come from the screens, the light that comes from the screen. There are so many disruptors that happen when we're watching TV or playing on our phones before bed. I know it seems relaxing in the moment, but it's only because it's distracting your mind. To truly distract your mind, I have to ask, why are you distracting your mind? What is it that you don't want to think about so badly? Instead, something like taking a nice relaxing bath with some magnesium. Magnesium is great to relax muscles. And if you have a sauna, if you have the funds to get a sauna, a far infrared sauna, you could do that nights before bed, and then read or listen to some music, and then go off into your bed. It's important to have a bedroom that's conducive to sleep. Any bit of light is turning on the chemicals in the brain that say, oh, it must be morning time. Light is starting, so it starts to build the serotonin and the dopamine to wake you up instead of put you to sleep. So don't have anything that has any lights, no little night lights, no little light coming around the edges of the door, your phone, your alarm clock by the side of the bed. And don't put your alarm clock by the side of the bed anyway. You've got battery just pointing straight at your head then. So think about where the electronics are positioned in your bedroom. Think about what's behind the wall of your bed. So you can go onto, go to Amazon and go to Gauss meter, Gauss, and you can buy a little meter. It's like $30, $40, where you can assess the energy levels in your home. So this is my bed, and the wall behind my bed, I can take that Gauss meter and I can run it along all of the walls. I can find out what kind of EMF toxicity I'm being exposed to. I know in many homes, some of the bedrooms butt right up to the living room, and your TV is right on that wall. And so it's interesting that right behind that TV are bedrooms where you are now exposing yourself. You're just bathing yourself in those EMF frequencies. So use a Gauss meter and determine what kind of EMF toxicity you have going on in your bedroom. Another thing that you can do is make sure that your sheets, your bedding, your mattress, your pillows are toxin free. And I know it sounds funny to have, this hippie like me telling you about being careful about toxic sheets, but the toxins in your sheets and in your pillows and in your mattresses, they are soaked with a flame retardant so that they don't, they don't burn in a fire. So you would be sleeping and you could be, somewhat protected. If a fire happened, it wouldn't instantly burn. Problem with that is those flame retardant materials do not come out in the wash. They are in the fibers of the bedding. And so they do not come out. Those toxins are what is surrounding you all night long. And so, you're sweating in the night if you're wrapped in your sheets. The moisture from that is only helping to bring the toxins to the surface of your skin and enter your body. Having things like pure cotton or organic cotton is a really great idea, because you are decreasing the chances of toxicity that your body has to deal with at night. Remember, your body regenerates while it's sleeping. So all of the organs are regenerating during the night. Sleeping in a non-toxic environment would really help with that, especially if you find that you're waking up between 1 and 3. Those are, or 2 and 4 is kind of ideal kidney and then liver clearing time. So if you're waking up at those times, I have to wonder how much work your liver and kidneys are doing during that time. Being in a toxin-free environment would be very helpful for that. People with shift work, that is always a question. If you are having shift work, it's the same thing as those that work during the day and then sleep at night. It's just that you have to make the world environment for yourself. So in the natural world, the light starts diminishing, at dusk, and then it gets purely dark at nighttime. You have to kind of do the same thing for you. So as you are driving home from work, this is kind of dusk for you, when actually in the natural world, it's the waking up. And so the light is getting higher and higher. And so you can have tinting on your windows if you want to go to that extreme. But when you get home, you can start, shutting down the lights of your house or shutting down the curtains in your windows. going through your ritual. So then by the time you actually fall into bed and go to sleep, and then you've got window darkening curtains, and you're paying attention that you don't have light either, you're telling your brain chemicals to shut down and start creating melatonin so that you can let your body get into that natural circadian rhythm that says it's time to sleep. Having your bedtime routine is important. It doesn't mean that I have to be in bed by 9 o'clock every day. It is more like what are the things that you're doing ahead of time in order for that sleep to happen. And I will tell you, most people focus on the hour before sleep, and they're like, I've got to do this so that I can sleep good. I've got to take my sleep pill, and I've got to, take NyQuil or whatever it is. I've got to force myself to go to sleep. And I'm telling you, start in the morning by looking at what you're putting into your body, how soon you're putting it into your body so that your cortisol levels can come down and your whole metabolism and your whole blood sugar and your whole stress response system is already set up in the morning. So if you want to have good sleep at night, pay attention to your morning and the nutrition that you're putting in, the timing of the nutrition you're putting in, and the timing of the nutrition all day long. Okay, I hope that helped, guys. Put any questions that you have in the chat. Watch this replay again and again and make some changes. Don't panic if you can't make all the changes at one time. Start with the little things. Start by buying a sheet set first. Start with the things that you can right now. You don't have to do everything all at once. I just hope that you gained a new understanding. Talk to you next week.